bloody boring subject. Right? So I thought maybe I'll make it sound a bit more sexy, so I said art of placemaking. And I know there's a lady in the front who actually is interested in placemaking. So I have to watch out for her. She might say the right things and I say the wrong things and I'm in deep shit. Okay. At yesterday's event, what are the takeaways, right? One, is Raz here. Okay. Hi.
Hey.
I said to Pat, I need to focus on someone, focus my hate on someone, my love on someone. Anyway, Raz, this is for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Several takeaways. He said, one, today is cheap. I hate that. We're not cheap. We add value. We are very, very generous. We give you lots of it and charge you very little. But we're not cheap. We're cost competitive. Cost competitive. Now, I got a prompter here. I learned this, right? Okay. The second thing is spoke about the age, the demographic age groups. They say 20-somethings to 60-somethings. So I guess this covers all of you, right? There are some of us who are senior citizens who are outside of that group, including me.
But you're 45, right?
You're not going to get free lunch from me. Okay. Then he spoke about it, and he does a pretty good job in selling remote work, remote year. Sorry, I don't remember it, but remote year. It shows you beautiful pictures of Bali. It shows you the Himalayas, and it says this is about remote year. It's about co-working, and we're servicing you. Actually, he's doing a very, very hard sell. But I must say that it's a fantastic brand consultant. He's sold me remote year. So that covers part of what I'm going to talk about as well. Claire this morning has mentioned all the different attributes of what makes up a co-working space. She did a brilliant job. So I'm going to cut my lecture by half. So it saves me a lot of trouble. There are other takeaways as well from the session on Spotlight Malaysia, which I want you to think back to it and what you actually took away from it. And comes to the next point, which I want to make. I have the trouble reading, so I need specs, sorry. If you look at the title, I think the first word I want to concentrate on is communicate. And in the first lecture, there was the term communications and sales. Right? But the business of space and leveraging on space is about communication, about communicating with other people who are going to use that space, right? But communication is also about language. And although we are all speaking English, actually there are many, many connotations to the words we use. Right? So space design is a very American word. Architects in America use the word space design. I've never used it in my life. I use the word space, but not space design. Right? And then somebody else stood up yesterday and talked about the co-working alliance. Now I dislike the word alliance totally. Because in the same vein, people tell me, and we spoke about cultural diversity yesterday, that we are all same under the skin. Bloody hell, we're not. None of you are the same under the skin. You're all different. And the whole thing about branding, and the whole thing about this word alliance, is that trying to put everybody into one basket. Now, if you're going to talk about space design, you don't want to be in the same basket as the next person, right? And that's why you're paying good money to be here. So, get away from all that jargonism. Right? There are other words that are used to put you all into one place, right? But take alliance is the word which the government has used. Right? Somebody who was from government was speaking about the co-working alliance. Pretend you never done that lecture. While still on the subject of communication, I just recall the conversation I had with a very close friend of mine, Yoli. She's a fashion designer in New York. she started her career around the same time I started, right? And you could say that she's one of the doyens of high fashion in New York, but with a twist of difference, right? She said to me, "You are what you wear." I'm using that because it's very important in relation to what we could speak about later, right? So as a tribute to her, I'm actually wearing a t-shirt designed by her, right? So I was supposed to dress down, so I tried to dress down as best I can. I still see someone here in a suit, okay? But how many of you remember this symbol, right? You're past 40. Okay? You remember the guy who stood on the stage and would stand up with one glove? Right? Michael Jackson. So many, some do, some don't remember. What was that symbol about? That was about actually Black September. So it takes you back through many, many layers of history. Right? And so she was trying to revitalize some spaces in New York, and she thought she would revitalize the symbol, right? So she calls it the Black Tiller. Tiller as in tilling the earth. Okay? So, why am I telling this story? Actually, why? It's because it's all about communication. And that's the first one I put on the screen. And your space has to communicate these values. And these values are multi-layered. And they're culturally sensitive. And there'll be other keywords that will be introduced to you over and over again, like the word community. I do a lot of placemaking work. I do a lot of heritage work. And I always use the word community and stakeholders, but when I go out, everybody's different. I pretend I'm talking to a common group, but none of them have commonalities except very basic things like, I live in this place, I understand the culture, you know, I like the food, that sort of things. But the last demographic that was mentioned was that most co-working people like to come to Asia, right? That's where the spirit is. Right? And I'll talk a bit about that. So that brings me just the last bit of my introduction. Sorry, it's a bit long. I woke up this morning thinking about my presentation and what was I actually going to say to you, right? What am I going to bring to the table that would help you on your journey in co-working? Because yesterday there was a poll. Some people are owners of co-working spaces. Some people are thinking of setting up. Some are just interested in the subject. So it goes through that whole spectrum. So I asked myself, how does a 20th century person born in the 20th century teach you how to design 21st century spaces? Right? And that's an equation which is very interesting. Every 30 to 40 years, there's a strong period of creativity. And you're sitting in one of those periods, whether you believe it or not. Think of the similarities rather than the differences. I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. That was when the Beatles came. That was when Flower Power was there. Maybe like I see Claire nodding her head, maybe she's from the same era. And it was a beautiful time. Fashion was at its highest point. And between the 60s and the 70s, when the Beatles emerged, how were they dressed? Think about it. We had this conversation last night about bell bottoms. What has bell bottoms to do with space design? But I said, if you start at the beginning of the 60s, they were wearing very tight jeans. And their suits were very tight. And their stomachs were flowing out in their fat. And that's what we're wearing today. By the 70s, right, it was loose pants, loose shirts, and the Eagles came into existence. Why I say the Eagles? Because up to today, they're still operating and playing as a band. That's about longevity. And we spoke about how spaces can survive through time. So thanks for listening to me. That was actually my conclusion. So I'm going to do it another way, because you're in the lecture theatre, and I'm just going to say something else. You have been conned into believing that the word lecture theatre is a wonderful place to come to look at film, because that's what we remember theatres, plays. And then here they make you sit in this chair, take notes, and listen to some idiot on the stage. Right? Again, the one. All these words, all this jargonism is designed to make you feel comfortable with the space, convince you that it's a place that you want to be in, that you should be in. But what has this space to do with theatre? Nothing. Right? I'm going to start with the end. All of you have come, and then some of you might have some burning questions. So perhaps I'll start the Q&A now. Anybody has any burning questions? Because then I can focus on it rather than go through my lecture. No? Please, one person.
What's key in placemaking?
Okay, I'll go to slide 50. What else? No, I want to know which section to focus on.
So I hate the word placemaking.
Great.
It's human making, right?
Yeah?
And,
But after I explain place to you, you may like it.
okay.
Okay? Anything else?
How do you infuse the community element into the places you design?
Say that again.
How do you infuse the community element in the places you design?
That's easy. I'm into placemaking. Got you. Okay, I'll start. I'll have to run through it because I think I already took out my heart. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my design DNA very quickly. I'm trying to organize everything into a framework so that there's a takeaway from that. So this matrix of ideas that I'm going to introduce to you, I try to be as concise and precise as possible. And it's basically to help you shape your approach to space design. To help you to create a destination, right, which possesses desirable qualities. Doesn't it sound nice? I invite you to this space with desirable qualities, which in turn gives you unique selling points. Remember what I spoke about branding and things like that. What is your unique selling point? Whenever I address clients, I never talk about design. This is your unique selling point. This is how we're going to make the space special. And they left it out because that's what they only hear. How do I make money? Again, you answer those questions, they don't care about the design. This gives you in business what we call strategic advantages, which helps you then brand your project and creates opportunities and strengthens the values of the place. Okay. So this is what I hope to offer you by the end of the lecture. Okay. The first rule that I always apply, the first principle, guideline, whatever you want to call it, is design with culture. What is culture? Li Futuan said, culture is the totality of means by which man and women escapes from his animal state of being. Which means that all the processes of living in this world, outside of nature, has been created by man. And that is culture. So I find this useful because then I focus on the issues of designing with culture, right? In culture, you'll be confronted with context, climate, construction, and circulation. All the things that I will need you to look at if you are looking at space design. Context. I split it into 4 issues. The first one is place. Second one is constraints. Third one is brand values. Fourth is needs. Now you say, why brand values? Why not values? Why not heritage values, social values, etc.? Because I find it easier to focus when I think about brand values. And you'll find out why. Okay. What's the difference between space and place? Architects use the 2 words interchangeably. Sometimes you would use the word space, sometimes you would use the word place, and in that process you get totally confused with yourself. But to me, space is a different connotation, and maybe it has to. You've heard people use the term sense of place, spirit of place. Spirit of place is the subject that I love to talk about, but I'll save that for another day. So this is my definition. What begins as amorphous and undefined space becomes place when it acquires meaning and value through use. You look at this rainforest. I took this from a helicopter. It looks the same, right? You can't define the space, but to the Aborigine, what we call the Orang Asli, he knows where the boundary of the space is, which is marked by trees, by burial grounds, like bloodshed, by rivers, landforms, etc., etc. He knows exactly where his boundaries are, and that place in the forest space becomes a place to him. And that's how the idea of place starts. Right? This is a makeshift spiritual altar created by the Orang Asli in the forest. But look at how he creates this altar, right? It's a platform, there's a ladder going up to it. He has the foods of the place. He has cigarettes. He has a can of beer. Right? So there's place. And this is a replica of the place that the Orang Asli understands. So that's what I mean by the term, when does space become place? And that's why the term placemaking is so important. And so if we go back historically, I think the term placemaking may now take on a different connotation for you. Okay. Next is constraints. Constraints is everything that affects the site. It could be rules, plannings, the size of the site. Like I said this morning, a small space, much more difficult to work with than a big space, but this big space costs you a lot more, etc. But these are the constraints that we work with. But so since that has been so well taken care of, I'll skip to the next one. Brand values, right? What is a brand value? A brand value is something that you endow onto a product, place, thing that gives it more prominence than a generic equivalent. Right? So that's a brand value. Now when we had to before the listing of Georgetown World Heritage Site, the organization I work with, called Kazana, of which Pink City is part of, that Matt spoke to you yesterday. He's from Pink City. We worked on a program called the Georgetown Transformation Program, and we had to look at value-based planning. So we brought in a brand consultant. So this very nice lady actually said, okay, let's identify what the brand values of Georgetown and Penang are. Okay, so we came up with this: respect, inclusive, excellence-driven, vibrant, creative. Right? And so now, whenever I try to create a space within Penang, to give it Penang characteristics, to give it a local flavor, I try and throw all these values into that space. And I'll come back to some later. Concomitant with the idea of brand values is the idea of brand personality. Right? So these were 7 that we chose for Penang. We said it's welcoming. The place is surprising. It's very appealing. It's intimate. It's young. Strangely enough, everybody said Penang is a very young place. It's a very old place. It's 250 years old, but young, proactive, and non-conformist. And that's the last word that I promote the most. If you notice, I told you what I hate most in the way that people actually try to label you. But Penang is the one place that does not conform. And when you do not conform, you're automatically thinking outside the box. And when you think outside the box, you start to create. That's the message. So the first lesson I took away from this is that if I think in the way that business thinks, and I think about creating a brand through my space or my place, I have to imbue it with these values. Right? And so if you have another place in the North Pole in Ireland, Scotland, wherever else you are, in America, India, your values and your brand values will differ. But that's the first step into creating place as opposed to space. Next one is needs. So again, if somebody else has helped me by identifying what needs means, right? What you need in space, what are the issues you have to look at, etc. So that one is self-explanatory. But these are generally some of the needs of the network community, which is in terms of the hardware, in terms of the software, right? And just thinking about branding, if you go back to all the name of different co-working spaces mentioned yesterday, right? You see words like white space, the gallery, right? Common ground. All these things are ways to give your space character, right? So that's the first visionary thing that you have to look at. Then you look at climate. So when I operate Penang, I produce this map of Penang which shows you how the winds work in Penang. At different times of the year, the wind blows from a different direction. So climate is one of the key indicators and the key criteria that you apply when you're designing a place. Right? And together with that, I always look at what I call bioclimatic and biophilic design. Now if you go and Google that, you get tons of information on it. So I won't waste your time today. But this is a very early study of the climate, just to illustrate. This is 1960, right? The gentleman put these models inside the smoke, what you call a wind tunnel, and they blew smoke through it. And you can see that this is how air flows around buildings. And if you notice that you stood in the lobby, the volume was so high and it was totally sealed, and the sound was actually very, 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 very harsh, right? But if you had opened the window and allowed the air to flow through, you might have changed your experience of the space. Now, you also have your favorite morning spots.
Sorry,
your favorite
this
evenings,
person
right?
not sit to that.
In any space that you will work on, you'll have these climatic moments. Right? How do you use it to your advantage? Construction is, I think, very obvious. It's a process of putting something together. But there are three keywords that I would like to share with you: time, cost, quality. Any time that you work on a place or space,
Thank you.
obviously use these keywords. Make sure the project is delivered on time, delivered within your budget, and the quality is achieved. And I find that by putting construction under these three keywords, I actually don't miss much. Circulation. Okay? So for public spaces to succeed, users must feel that they can read the space and find their way around it by using what we call the space in between spaces. Right? And I think that's a very easy way of understanding circulation. Placemaking. Okay? Project for public spaces, this is the definition, it's the process of facilitating creative patterns of use, attention to physical, cultural, and social identities that define a place and support its ongoing evolution. And there's a lot of information you can get from their website. This is the usual symbol that they put up to talk about what makes great spaces, and with sociability, users and activities, access and linkages, and comfort and image. Right? And these are some of the keywords that they promote. Okay? I'll go through quickly one by one. Right. I'll just put this quickly. So the first one is community driven, and community is a word that has already been elaborated and used, and I don't think I have to explain more about it. Visionary. Okay? I just put this in because we witnessed this in Penang, and it's beautiful, But again, every space that you produce, you must have this vision of what you want it to be, what you want it to do. Right? They use the word engagement, right? And if you use the keywords,
Sorry,
from
I
public
cannot fill up the
spaces.
space at
I
the
put function
sorry,
for form,
because I can walk
context
through
specific
there or
and
in front.
inclusive.
Because the
So
camera
the
is.
main thing that I advocate here that celebrates these
Yeah, you
ideas
camera on.
is to put people first.
Sorry about that.
Because it's spoken of hosting, for example. This is my office.
Oh, you can actually walk here.
And it's just a space. There are 2 tables 8 by 4 because they're very economical to put together. And sometimes it's empty, we could be having a meeting, something you call engagement. Or we could be just working on plans in 2 small groups. But it's just table, nothing else. But it's how you activate the space is important. We worked on an upgrading of a market called Pasar Chaurasta. And here we did engagement. So this is what real engagement is, where we have to talk to all the stakeholders, meaning the people who rent the stalls, who sold fish and food in the market, people who use the market, and we had what we call focus group meetings. All in all, we had 100 focus group meetings just to create a place, right? So it's engagement. So we had plans up, we invited everybody up, comment on the plans, we explained what it was all about, but eventually we managed what we call a buy-in, right? And it's very useful to test your plans on community. I borrowed this from another consultant. What are collaborative spaces? But here there's a beautiful diagram which talks about how you move from solitary to a varying configuration of spaces into a collaborative space. And where is there high collaboration and where is there low collaboration, in terms of studying, research, work, relaxing, socializing, creation. This is something which I took when I visited Freedom Lab in Amsterdam. So again, it's just a space, but the thing that worked for them was this portable TV screen which you could move around all the building and you could subdivide the space up. And it's a very cheap version of a communication tool. So it doesn't have to be state-of-the-art, it doesn't have to be expensive. Right? So, and it was an open space, there were tables and chairs, but for the event they put these very, very casual seating arrangements together. Right? Look something like the diagram before. Right? The next comment is about being focused on creating destinations. Now look at this. This is a very straightforward, simple device, but these guys have got a ship, boat, or sampan as we call it. They cut it in half. They made it into a space, or rather a place. Right? And when you think about this, it's definitely a destination, and it's just a small little place. It's not as if it's a huge building. The other one was even cuter. They have all these barges, and they put this sitting space on the barge itself. So everybody wanted to take that space. That is what I mean by creating a destination. So think about that. And Wawasan is a destination. Why? As Tan Sri has explained, it's a heritage building, it's layers of history, it's iconic, it's a place that you want to go to because you're curious about the space. So very often if you're looking at selecting a space to turn into a place, some types of buildings have more than others. And once you have a building like that, it's so easy to do placemaking. So we did a little pop-up just as a demonstration in the main building. It took us 2 days, but it has transformed the place. Right? This is what it looks like normally. And when I was invited into this space, I felt so, claustrophobic. I felt like I don't want to be here. Then in 2 days we transformed it. So it's easy to do. Right? This is another space which I call sociable and dynamic. Right? So this is a library, and then put a pool table there, and some seating. So there's already variety and activities in this space. So you feel sociable, you challenge somebody to a pool game. You want to be by yourself. You know, you take a book and sit down, right? This is Istanbul Airport. Sociable, right? And everything works when you have a beer. So the Space and Freedom Lab I went to, we hit that space because they provided free beer. So think about it. Actually, they still give a bit of coffee, but beer helps, right? And this was some of us at Chongpatsi mentioned, having a discussion around food. And Penang is food paradise. So, if anything else, if I can turn Wawasan into a co-working space, there'll be a series of restaurants, you know, where you can sit and you can eat. Stop it. Okay. Soon. Okay. So, the other word that I use is transdisciplinary. It's actually cultural diversity, right? So mix and match. This is Citizen M, Amsterdam. It's how you mix spaces together with different designs, with different ideologies, and then it comes out like a mix and match. Rather than like something like this. Sorry, I'm using you as a good example. It could be this, right? Same space. Then I worked on this building called UAB. You'll be there next tomorrow, I think. We were asked to take over this building and turn it into a workspace. And this is the Think City space which Matt and I work in, right? So it has a reception, a small meeting room, it has a watering hole, it's an area where people can work seriously. There are meeting rooms by the side. So this is just the lobby. Half the time just sit as we enter the place, we sit down and talk already. Right? You don't go very far. This is the watering hole where everybody hangs around and you put food on top. They hang around a lot longer. Right? But this is food. But this is how it's activated. Right? So this is the space which allows us to have a small meeting. This is us having a meeting. Very straightforward, some of these places. Doesn't need much design in that sense, you know. No tricks. This is the common workspace, this is what it's become. It comes during the day. And then all of this flows into the nice green space, which was our attempt to create some biophilic connection. And after it completed it, the monkeys came. Right. This was another part of the building where circulation, this is circulation. And then goes up to this beautiful, lively space with both breakout space as well as sitting. You'll be using this hall for the events, which is flexible. And what we put into this space was plug and play, some very strong hardware in order to make you connected. And this is your office. Right? I had to give you a plug, right? So Pen and Abby asked me to look at this space which they created, which has beautiful cement floor, beautiful cement front reception desk. And they said they just done it up in order to rent it out. Then she brought me upstairs to look at the traditional workspaces. And I remember Pat saying, I cannot sit in my father's room because it has this traditional Chinese businessman layout. It has this teapot, is a Chinese painting, and it's all his things that I remember, you know. I can't work there. So I said, okay, why don't you take over this space and make it your own space, right? So this is what we did. Right? She gave me a budget of only 100,000. I don't think I even broke it. Right? And Mom's here today, so when she feels like it, she brings her furniture in. And this is their fourth room. And the best part of it is that they look out into this fantastic view. Right? So sometimes you learn how to do what I call borrow other people's landscape. These are activities. So there's no magic to it. It's just knowing how to put it together. Sorry, I'll finish. Okay. The last one we'll talk about is the Chongpatsi mentioned. I took it over in 1990 and I turned it into a sort of homestay, but it's now a hotel, so we've gone through 2 or 3 iterations of that. But if you go search, you get 21 million results. When I first started, I never believed that would happen. But this space actually taught me about placemaking. So this is what it looks like today. I'm talking about transformation. So I have to go really fast. And that's the last bit which I joined into placemaking is what I call harnessing the chi, which is really feng shui. And that's the great secret in the East. You don't apply it so much in the West, but in the East we apply feng shui. What's feng shui? Feng shui basically means wind and water. It's about harnessing the natural energy in the environment to make the space feel a lot richer and energized. Right? And when energy becomes cumulative, you get something called chi or energy orbs. So the last thing I'm going to show you is that when you go to remote places, right, and the word remote has come up. I went to this remote place in Yunnan province, there's this old temple, and I took this photograph. And one day I blew it up and I found this beautiful circle, or this sphere in the center of it. And somebody said, no, it's just it was raining and there's a dot in the lens. But if you look closely, you'll find that, that orb is actually hiding behind the granite afterwards. So I started investigating this. So if you look at this lady is a meditationist. She has beautiful orbs in the room. And in the temple, when there's a lot of activity, there are also these energy orbs floating around. So this is actually something which I'm trying to work with to make spaces special. Okay, so I think I have to end here because there are lots of other slides, but I think it's too long. Thank you.